I have a great honor to welcome Raphael Ruf.
Thank you.
From Swiss Post Cybersecurity, formerly known as terreActive. We should make that a film title. And he will talk about breach and attack simulation, how they can help us, and he will kindly also show us a demo. And so it may be that he needs the full 30 minutes, and with very little time or no time for questions in the end, we will see. So please kindly find Raphael at the Swiss Post Cybersecurity stand down in the hall later on if you have questions for him, should the time not work out. So please, Raphael, start.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining my talk about breach and attack simulation, continuous security validation. I'm going to talk about what that thing actually is, how its architecture looks like, how it is deployed, and how you can benefit from it. A few words. Who am I? My name is Raphael. I work as a cybersecurity consultant at Swiss Post Cybersecurity. It's quite a mouthful. We were formerly terreActive, but got acquired by the Post last year. I'm actually a mechanic, so I have an OT background. That's why I also doing some penetration tests in OT environments. And I'm responsible for vulnerability management and breach and attack simulation. What do we see here? This is what we call the cyber defense platform. On the left side, we have NIST, and on the top row, we have a typical cyber kill chain. And what we then do is we map all the security controls you might have or not to NIST and which part of an attack chain that they do cover. So to give you a few examples, you have your typical EDR, and you might have something on the network, and you probably have a CM where you collect all the data and can do your analysis on. And now you have all those expensive tools doing some stuff, but now you might ask yourself, do I have the right solutions, or are they configured the right way? And am I protected against the most current threats? Is the CM integration of all those tools that I have actually working? Do the use cases I have cover the attacks that might happen? And if something happens, how is the reaction of the SOC? Do I have any gaps, or what are the risks? And maybe some more questions. So the logical next step is then now to implement something that will, in an automatic way, validate all the security controls that I have in place. And this is where automated validation comes in place. And one solution is breach and attack simulation. So what is it actually doing? I usually call it continuous automated security validation. So the goal is to automatically check if all the security controls that I have in place are correctly configured and are doing their job as they are intended to do. And not just on we set it up, we do some tests, it works. So like on a snapshot basis, it should run continuously so that if something gets messed up, I immediately notified about that. We do that with real attacks. So we place some simulators in your environment and also on the cloud, and we run real attacks on those simulators and between them. And what we also do is we hook into your security controls. So it will not be like a black and white differentiation between attack was successful or not. We will also go and automatically check, did we get any logs from your EDR? Did we get any notables in your CM matching those attacks? So you get the full circle, and it is automatically validated. What product do we use? We use SafeBreach, which is a pioneer in breach and attack simulation. And we decided on that product, so all the other slides will be based on the functionality of the product SafeBreach. How does a typical breach and attack simulation process look like? we start with attacking your environment. So we run simulations, and we run them continuously, and we run them on continuously updated playbooks. So we have, they're called scenarios, which is like a set of actions that will be executed, and we run them continuously in your environment. And they will also, as I write here, they will also be regularly updated. So if there are new threats emerging, it usually takes 24 hours, and we get a matching action so we can run those against your scenario. Then the next step is we check the results and you prioritize. So you can start with the remediation. So you can start improving your detection. You can start improving maybe your use cases or your hardening policy. And with that, you drive down your risk. And then rinse and repeat. Talking about the security validation, as I said before, without an integration into your security controls, you get that like green-red differentiation. So an attack was successful, it goes red. An attack was somehow not successful, it goes green. But if you integrate your security controls, it gets more diverse. So it's not only successful or not. So let's say you have that detected part in the middle there. The attack was successful, but we still got a detection, because an attack could be something like a host enumeration, which is not malicious, so it did nothing happens on the system, but it still can be a part of an attack. So it got detected, and that might be fine. And what you also get, if you integrate it into your different security controls, you can see here we have Splunk integrated, but also Defender. You can see which security control detects what. So this might also help you get an answer on what kind of tool is doing which part of the job, or is covering which part of an attack chain, and how well is like the coverage. Now, to get more details on the components of the product itself, we have 3 components that make up the whole system. First, we have the simulators. Simulators is a piece of software, it's an agent that we deploy on representative systems of the customer. So we do not target productive environment. We target your productive security stack, but we do not attack like your production system. So we ask our customers to deploy representative systems, and on those systems we install our agents. And those agents are the ones that actually carry out the attacks. There will also be one agent in the cloud acting as the external attacker, or also as a target for data exfiltration. Then in the middle, we have the management console, which can be run in the cloud by SafeBreach, but you can also deploy it on-premise, and you can even run it air-gapped if you like. And this is like the central component where you manage your simulators, you configure your attacks, you get your results. This is like the thing you actually work on. And the third part are the attack playbooks. These are prepared scenarios with prepared actions. It's like a huge library you can choose from, and they are updated regularly by SafeBreach. So those are like the core components of a SafeBreach deployment. But how does it look like at a customer? Let's say this is our customer, they have some clients, they have some servers, and some database and some security controls already in place. And now we start with our setup. I show you here the on-prem setup. So we ask for another system. It's an appliance, which will be the manager. And then we get a simulator in the cloud, which is run by SafeBreach. And we ask the customer to get us a client which is representative of the clients he already has in place. So it should be deployed from the same image, should have the same hardening policies, should be in the same patching cycle, so that it represents like the majority of clients he already has in place. And we will install an agent on there. And we do the same with a server or multiple servers. Let's say multiple operating systems might get multiple simulators. And these will all be managed by the manager. Now, for the integration of the security controls, the manager itself will hook into, if you have security controls on-prem, like a Splunk, or also if you have running like Sentinel in the cloud, this will be also, the data will be collected by the manager. Now, what we can do with such a basic setup, we can run infiltration. So we can run attacks from the simulator in the cloud to, let's say, a client. We can run EDR validation, so everything that is running on the endpoint itself. We can do lateral movement between simulators, and we can also do exfiltration. So we can simulate a whole attack chain through your enterprise and through your security stack. Now, where to place simulators, or with what amount of simulators should I start? Usually, our recommendation is to start with at least 5. Why 5? We have one in the cloud, mimicking the external attacker. We like to have one client, and customers typically have Windows and Linux servers, so we get 2 there as well. And then we have a 5th one. We call that an advanced actions simulator. There are actions that have a very slim risk of something going wrong. And according to the SafeBreach, that risk is like negligible, but we do not like to run it on a normal simulator, so we ask our customers to provide an advanced actions simulator, which is an isolated system which has no connection to the customer whatsoever. Because what we do there is we run real malware. It will not be fully executed, it will enter a pre-execution state, so it will be loaded into memory, and that is to test your EDR. So maybe the malware can be written to disk without detection, but it would be detected if we load it into memory. But we do not want to be responsible if we actually deploy real ransomware at one of our customers. That's why we go with that kind of setup. So with 5 simulators, you get quite a good coverage, but you can always like deploy more. Let's say you have server 2016 and 2022, or maybe even 2012, or different hardening policies, or you have like a specific setup for your administrator clients, and you want to test those as well, you can always grow. Now, since there are many scenarios to choose from, and I will show you later how big the library is, we defined a baseline. So on the left side, you have the initial baseline, which covers your basics. So you have some infiltration, host level, lateral movement, exfiltration, some email, and then some more specific on endpoint and network, and some ransomware. And we usually start with our customers with those. And we let them run, and we start improving and getting a feeling for the tool. And then when we feel the customer is ready for more, we go to the full baseline. Why do we do that? Not only like to give the customer a guideline on how to improve, we also want to be able to compare our customers with each other. So we have a base, and we can say, yeah, you have this kind of score, and your peers look like this, you should improve here. But of course, a customer can always add like the like. So let's say one of its competitors got attacked by a certain attack group. We can run that scenario as well to see how these customers would stand against such an attack. That is, of course, always possible. And now you have the tool, it's running. How are we going to support you, or what like looks our service like? you have SafeBreach installed, running continuously, and what we will do together with you is, on a quarterly basis, make like a status report or enhancement session where we help you prioritize like the findings and give recommendations on how to mitigate them and identify like the low-hanging fruits, because we do know our customers and know where we could like start improving. Of course, there's also an integration into the CM because, as I said, we're running continuously. And let's say somebody messes something up with the configuration and suddenly one of your score drops. And then you do not want to wait 3 months until you get notified. You probably want to get notified immediately. So that's why we monitor it. And of course, you get support from our side. And also, if there are known threats emerging, or as I said before, if the example, you want to run a specific simulation of a certain attack group or something like that, we're also here to support and also help analyze. All right, demo time. Looking good. So this is the dashboard you get when you log in. You get like that arbitrary 30 of 100 security score. You also get your like benchmark score of the other SafeBreach customers. This is our demo environment, so it has to look a bit vulnerable. And it also gets branched out in like different domains. So you have your network here, you have your endpoint here, you have your email if you run certain scenarios. So at a glance, you get an idea of how does my security posture look like. Now, to go to the scenarios, this is like the library of scenarios you have at your disposal. So, as I said before, you have your getting started with your infiltration, endpoint, lateral movement, and outbound. But there is many, many more. So those are all prepared scenarios. You have stuff for your endpoint, stuff for your network, your email security, data security, stuff in the cloud, grouped in attack groups if you know who might be attacking you. Some baseline scenarios, and you can pick those, configure those, and run those against your environment. So if I pick one of those scenarios to give you an example, how does it look like? I'm not sure if I can zoom here or it is readable. So we have a chain of attacks. So it will start with an email attack, then with malware transfers, malware drops, a pre-execution phase and the ransomware execution, and then the encryption phase. And as you can see, the number of actions, the blue number on the right side, drops as we go down the chain, but it is not like chained that if your email security is very good and nothing gets through, the whole chain collapses. So those are atomic tests. We will test your email security with sending 622 emails with different kind of attachments. If none of them goes through, fine, then we still try to do malware transfer. We still try to do malware drop. So you will get a view of your whole attack chain. So it's not like you build a very big wall, it fends everything off, but something gets through, the whole thing collapses. So you will get an idea of a result through the whole attack chain. Then what you can do, you just choose your simulators you want to run this on. So you can go in here. It's not wide enough. Come on. So you can choose your your simulators, and you can choose attacker and victim. So typical for email, you choose your attacker in the cloud, and you choose your victim, maybe a client. And for lateral movement, you choose 2 internal systems, and for endpoints, it just runs locally on the endpoint itself. Let's see if we can get it working, otherwise I will continue. So you can always tailor your scenario to run as you like it to be run. Now, when a scenario is done, I can show you the results here. So this was the scenario run last week. Validate your endpoint. You get your score for that scenario, and if you have your integrations, you get also that view of branching out, so you get more details. You get the details on what did your security controls detect, and you can go in here into the insights, and the insights are the part where SafeBreach gives you recommendations on remediation. And it is grouped by topics. So what we have here as the top part is prevent user with insufficient permission from performing 37 system information collection attacks. And now you can go in here and have a look at all those details and how to start remediating. But this is the part where usually we come in and guide our customers in like identifying which are actually doable remediations, which is stuff that makes actually sense on the environment of the customer, and which might be the low-hanging fruits to attack first, or the ones which drive the risk down the most. Because what kind of like vulnerability do we find with that tool? It's not like your typical patch your system stuff. So our remediation will hardly ever be apply a patch, because the stuff we find here is hardening policies or policies for your EDR. But it can also be like we do not have a data loss prevention system in place, therefore our score is accordingly bad, and this can spawn like a whole project of evaluating a solution and implementing the solution, where we can also use our tool to test during like a POC different of those solutions and see how they score. So it's not like, as I said, install a patch, problem solved. It's really a continuous process of improving your security posture, identifying new stuff, and going on with that. What I can also show you for an analyst's perspective, let's say we ran some stuff and I want to know what was actually done. So I get a description of what is this action actually doing, and some remediation, and and I get the simulation logs, so I can actually go and see what was actually done on the simulator if I want to like debug why did we not detect it, or why do we not have logs for that in our CM. And if I have the integration, I can check all the security events that were collected to that action. So let's say we have Defender got our Defender found that we ran Mimikatz, and we can see the actual log that was pulled from Defender. So for an analyst, they can, with a few clicks, do the deep dive and really debug what was actually going on those simulators and what did my security controls collect. Now, if we go to the management part, just to close the loop, as I said before, all the agents are managed from the platform as well. Some of them are not running since this is our demo environment, but you do not have to log in to your simulators to like do updates or check on them if they are running. So yeah, that's like a basic overview about the tool. Let's go back into the presentation. So the conclusion, why do we do this? You spent a lot of money for your security controls and you hope they are working, and with this tool you can like test and guarantee the effectiveness of your security controls, since we are continuously running attacks against those. Fix issues before they become a problem. So since we're running continuously, you get to know if something is wrong before somebody else does. And in my opinion, it's the perfect addition for like manual pen tests. It's no replacement for a pen test, since we do only run attacks on simulators, and between those, we do not find that forgotten vulnerable system that's still running outdated software that probably a pen tester will find. But a pen test report is outdated the moment I get it, because it's always changing. That's why we think it's like the perfect addition. You have a tool in place which runs continuously, but also do your manual pen test still. And the last point here is, the system itself is called breach and attack simulation. Yeah, it is a simulation, but it's still running on your real representative systems running with real attacks. And what we are targeting, we are not targeting your production servers, your production systems, we are targeting your production security controls. So yeah, it is a simulation, but not like in a closed theater. And to bear in mind, since we're targeting your production security controls, this can also lead to occurring actions. So let's say you have automatic host isolation in place, and we run this on a simulator. Hopefully the simulator will get isolated. So stuff like that will hopefully happen. And so just to bear in mind, we target your production security controls, not your production environment. All right. I might still have a minute or so for questions.
Yes, I think very short time. I think we can take one question to wrap up. And all our questions I must kindly ask you to ask Raphael later on. We have a candidate over there, I think. And someone in the back, if we still have time.
Sure. I understand you.
Okay. If I look at my own environment for my company, I see that you have the breadth and width, Windows, Linux, and the server environment. What about mobile?
As far as I know, there are no mobile agents to be installed on a phone available, or no simulators that I can install on a phone to simulate the phone.
There's for sure malware being installed on mobile devices.
Yeah.
And company resources being accessible from mobile devices.
Absolutely. I will have to check, and maybe it's on the roadmap, something like that.
Okay, I hope everyone understood. It was about malware on mobile devices within the simulation, and this is something that has to be reconsidered and checked and seen on. We have one more question, if it's a short one. We have a candidate over there.
Yeah, a quick one. What's the coverage for SaaS and cloud in general?
Sorry?
What is the coverage for SaaS and cloud?
There are scenarios which we can run against the cloud, and there is also simulators available.
Okay.
So question was about SaaS and cloud coverage.
Yeah.
All right, please, I'm sorry the time is over, but everyone maybe wishes for another talk or another track. Thank you very much, Raphael,
Thanks.
for being here.